Welcome into I Said What I Said. I'm Brad Wakai. That's Tyson Gentry. This is our college football Week 12 reaction show. Boy, oh boy, we are coming off recording our CFP reaction episode. Man, wow. People have some vitriol. People are pissed. Tyson, it's college football. How good does it feel to be able to talk about this stuff?
I mean, when I'm hearing these things people are saying and seeing some of the crazy discourse, and then I have to remind myself there's only like a couple months left of this, and then I got to go back to the soap opera that is the NBA and college basketball. So enjoy it while you have it, people.
Exactly right. Every single time, man. Oh, if we just missing football. Then it becomes a grind, and we're like, we're yelling at each other, and then we miss it as soon as it's over.
Yeah, and there's no missing this one. This has been a banger college football season. I'm excited to talk. This last week was interesting, but not necessarily landscape changing.
No, definitely not. And so go check out our college football playoff episode show. If you're wondering what we think, what's going on, all that good stuff. This time we're going to get a little bit more in the weeds, talk about what just happened in week 12. So without further ado, folks, you know what time it is. We got to pat ourselves on the back.
I told you so.
This is a little twofold for me. I like Billy Napier a lot. I've always liked Billy Napier. Maybe it's because I'm a G5 sicko, and I watched him at Louisiana, and I watched him down there, and I've always preferred kind of the way he coaches, right? High-flying offenses, and it just didn't work at Florida. I mean, it was like kind of shocking, right? Like you expected it to be, you kind of take it and run, and Florida, I guess, was just a bigger mess than we imagined. But Tyson, when everybody was clamoring for him to get fired, after Florida said, no, we're going to commit to you. We want you to build up the right way. We want you to recruit players. Don't worry about doing a quick fix. It felt like Florida was going to do the wrong thing and turn their back on old Sunbelt Billy. But no, they gave him the vote of confidence, and it wasn't the dreaded vote of confidence, right? Not the, we have full faith, and they can him 2 weeks later. They said he's going to be here. Billy Napier is going to be our head coach. And what happens? Florida starts winning football games. DJ Lagway looks good, the freshman. Apparently they have a really close relationship. All of a sudden, recruiting is back on track for Florida. What do you know? When you're a stable organization or a stable franchise or a stable program, people seem to gravitate towards that. So I think this was the right decision, and Billy Napier paid it off. They're one win away from being bowl eligible in what is the toughest season in the country, toughest schedule in the country. And they have a chance to make a bowl game. Honestly, give him coach of the year.
Dude, I feel like I've seen Billy Napier every weekend of every summer of my life, from like 8 years old to like 16, whenever I stopped playing baseball. He's just missing a skull, like a fat dip here in his lip. And I swear I've seen that guy everywhere. Also, fans back in the stadium here for Florida, which was good to see for them. I told you so this week. Just another week and another maligned Big 12 football coach, folks. I thought Kenny Dillingham was dead on arrival. Right, I thought Arizona State stunk. I thought you couldn't win. You can't have a winning season with Levitt and Cam Scatterbo. What are we doing? Arizona State they're good, dude. They're sitting here at 8-2. A massive matchup here with BYU coming up that we're going to talk about a little bit later in the show. I wrote down rank them in all caps. The College Football Playoff Committee listened. I believe they debut here at 21 on the ranking this week, and they're not out of a Big 12 championship game. This was the program in Arizona we should have been focused on all along. We got too far in love with Ted McMillan and Noah Fafita and Conley and all those guys down there, just down the road at the University of Arizona. Arizona State's for real, man.
They are. The two teams will play each other at the end of the year. That should be a banger, because Arizona, if they beat TCU, they need one more win to be bowl eligible. Arizona State could still be fighting for their CFP lives. That should be nuts down there in Tucson. But I know, Kenny Dillingham, people gave up on him on 1 year. I mean, this was a guy who Dan Lanning was like, yeah, this guy is – we have like battles on the chalkboard for defense versus offense. And like it was like one rough season whenever he transferred. Now everybody was like burying him. No, he's the rising star in the sport. Would not be surprised if he does the Kalen DeBoer track, honestly. And he's running like a huge program. Maybe USC if Lincoln Riley leaves. Keep an eye on that. But enough patting ourselves on the back. We also have to tell you guys where we made a mistake.
I've made a huge mistake. Hand up.
This pains me. So LSU might be bad. I mean, 3 losses in a row. I think, right? Tyson, I need to apologize to you. I need to apologize to Baton Rouge. I need to apologize to LSU Nation around the country because I mushed Brian Kelly. I mushed the entire LSU program by coming on here, doing the victory lap, crowning Brian Kelly, talking like I normally do. And then all of a sudden, this program just falls off a cliff. And now everybody wants Brian Kelly fired. Everybody wants this program to burn. I mean, it's crazy. Now, I think there are real questions about Nussmeier right now. I mean, this guy was QB1 for a long time in the season. People are talking about potentially him transferring if he comes back to school. I think they might might honestly kick him to the curb anyway based on the turnovers he's had. This isn't a great NFL draft class. I wouldn't be surprised if he maybe throws his name in the ring. No idea. But the future is murky in LSU. The future is murky for Brian Kelly right now. I don't think they're going to fire him. There's just too much money. The buyout is too high. The recruiting class coming in is too great. But boy, this thing went off the rails pretty quick, huh?
Yeah, I think BK kind of was able to save his job by going, look at Bryce Underwood's Instagram post. I didn't lose him. Like, Michigan offered him $10 million. I didn't lose this guy. Keep me around. And this is the Brian Kelly experience that everybody at Notre Dame was trying to tell all the LSU people about, and there are some of us that love BK. You kind of leading the charge, and then there are people that hate him. You're feasting right now if you don't like him. If you like watching grown men have meltdowns on the sidelines, get yelled at by their players while yelling at other players. It's been a dumpster fire, but we should have seen this coming. We were too into Brian Kelly only hits his overs. This is a wrap. There's not an NFL player in the secondary, and that's not an LSU thing. And maybe this is just Brian Kelly's LSU, but we'll find out. My hand up. I'll go a little bit lighter, something farther away from home. I thought Washington State was going to throw a wrench into this college football playoff thing. I really did. They're throwing, 1 million yards a game. They're scoring a ton of points. This is fun. You look up, they're sneaky number 18 here last week in the college football playoff rankings. There's a little bit of wiggle room there. Can the Pac-12 reach from beyond the grave and pull one more little bit of chaos? Well, it reached from beyond the grave and it grabbed Washington State and pulled them down because they got Devin Dampier. New Mexico has now won, was it 5 in a row? Something like that since starting the season with a loss to FCS Montana State, who's a good football team, but it was like, well, New Mexico is the worst college football team in the country. Of course they lose to Montana State. Now they might go bowling. This whole thing has been flipped on its head, but my hand up here is that I thought Washington State was just going to score 70 and make themselves as close to undeniable as they could be, and instead they just got a flat-out denial letter.
Yeah, I'll talk about this in the upset portion. What a fun game. That's college football. That's what you're looking for. But Tyson, you know what? We're calling ourselves out. We're patting ourselves on the back. Let's call out some other people.
Donkey! Donkey of the day.
And I'm sitting here watching these idiots in Nebraska. And I like Matt Rhule a lot. I think he's a really good coach. Dana Holgorsen, though, he's the new offensive coordinator. That's making me wondering if Matt Rhule is on the rye whiskey over there. Matt Rhule is on the grain alcohol over there in Nebraska because Dana Holgorsen comes in. Guy has been, good offensive mind maybe back in the 90s, back in the early 2000s, but this is new age football. Got Dylan Rhule. And this team should have scored 1 million points, man. I took the over, so I'm a little jaded. I'm not going to lie to you folks. But if you watch that game, the fact that there were only 48 points scored, the fact that Nebraska scored only 20, is a complete travesty. It's crazy. And then the real reason why they're donkeys of the day is USC takes the lead, scores a touchdown, to cap up a 13-play, 7-minute and 39-yard drive, goes 84 yards, goes up 20-28. There are, Tyson, 2 minutes and 40 seconds left in the game. I had to sit there and watch these assholes drain this clock thinking that they're up. I mean, it's insane. Fourth and 3 at their own 32. They haven't gotten the first down yet. There is, instead of 2:40, there is 1 minute and 23 seconds on the clock. What the hell are you doing? They get the first down. There's 1 minute and 7. 1st and 10. They snap the ball with 46 seconds left. What? What are we doing? Where's the urgency? Where's the coach? There's 2 timeouts. Call a timeout. It was absolutely mismanagement. At the end of the game, when they're having to throw a freaking Hail Mary from, I think the 35, I'm like, you think they want to have a minute left? Or you think you want to go home with those 2 timeouts? Just being donkeys. It was crazy.
It's shame on you for thinking that, he's on the rye whiskey or the grain alcohol, as if Daniel Holgerson didn't bring some straight moonshine from his West Virginia days. That's exactly what's going on. My donkey of the day, UNLV, what are you doing with your sweet prices? I mean, we got to address this. It went semi-viral over the weekend here. If you missed it, some poor sucker in a box at a UNLV game ordered a pizza and 20 chicken tenders. That cost them $653 before taxes, before tip. That is a $300 pizza, people. It is 6 slices. That's $50 a slice. Welcome to Vegas. It's $20 a chicken tender. I understand, that you got to make your money if you're a university. I mean, look, we got the NIL. We got all these kids we got to pay. There's expenses here. We're trying to lure more people into our conference. You haven't been good for 100 years. This is the first time you crack the rankings. What is it going to get to if UNLV is a top 10 team? I mean, are we paying $600 a pizza? This is absolutely ridiculous. It's ludicrous. This was the exit polls during the election. This is really what should have been number one. I'm concerned with the concession prices at UNLV football games.
Talk about inflation. My goodness. One, shout out Pizza Rock. They actually are a really good pizza. Really good pizza place, I will say. So, don't be upset with Pizza Rock themselves. I'm wondering if this is Allegiant Stadium price gouging.
No doubt.
Or if this is UNLV. Because I'm wondering, it's got to be Allegiant, right? Like Mark Davis is trying to find a buyout from Antonio Pierce.
You got to afford those haircuts, man. I mean, the Bulls aren't cheap, brother.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, whoa. So that's a good pull by you.
What's your move? What's your move? I'm calling the credit card company and saying, I don't know, it got stolen. I didn't even go to the game. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Probably. If you're kind of shocked. But if you're getting the suite, I mean, you got to know that you're being an asshole.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, they were all sitting in the suite with the Boise State game on the TV, wishing that was them.
100%. 100%. All right, let's get some more fun stuff here.
Upset of the week.
Tyson touched on it, but mine this week is New Mexico beating Washington State. We talked about Bronco Mendenhall in our gambling episode, just a really good guy, really good coach, and just this team was supposed to be awful, New Mexico. And they came into this game facing a red-hot Washington Cougars team. You honestly, really good offense. We thought they were going to, score a ton of points. We didn't think they were going to lose. We thought this would be a high-scoring game. But New Mexico, Tyson, they just hung in there. They get down. I'm going through this thing here now. And honestly, I was like, oh, boy, this is over. Because Washington State, they scored a touchdown, answered. They go up by 14 points before half. And it's kind of like, man, New Mexico's had a good run. I just don't know. They're going to be able to score points, but their defense is not going to be able to get anything done. And they just kept going in there, kept handling the haymakers, kept getting stops, kept scoring points. All of a sudden, you look up, and they have a game-winning drive, and then they get the stop that they need. And this is a huge win for the program. It's a huge win for Bronco Mendenhall. He's crying on the sideline. This guy is such a stud head coach, man. I mean, it's kind of crazy that it didn't work out at Virginia, didn't work out at BYU. I'm shocked that he never got a bigger job. I'm shocked that one of these, high-profile Power 4 schools didn't give him a ring. You think USC would want him to be the head coach? Like, you just go through the list of different programs. Florida back in the day, Florida State. I mean, Texas A&M. I mean, this guy is a really good coach, and it was good to see that they got this football. It was good to see that they upset Washington State for their side of things.
Yeah, Bronco Mendenhall spent some time in my neck of the woods here. My main takeaway from that Washington State game, John Mateer, welcome to playing Washington State quarterback. 375 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an L. That is the way that this thing goes here for this. And
program. Leading the game in rushing, leading the team in rushing too.
Yeah, that was crazy. But again, Dampier, I mean, what do you have? 180 yards on the ground, 3 touchdowns.
193.
Never say die. And speaking of a team that never says die, even though they've been dead, my upset of the week here. Kansas takes down BYU. BYU, playing with fire all season long, and we thought that they might be able to just sneak by Kansas and set up a banger shootout here with Arizona State. Wasn't the case. Kansas looks like the team that we thought we were going to get. Devin Neal is awesome. Jalen Daniels is just enough. Doesn't have any of these, or not quite as many normally as these stupid moments that leave you scratching your head going, I thought this was the guy 3 years ago. But it was good to see for Kansas. And Brad, the best part was the players weren't freaking out after the game. It was, we expected to win. This is what we're here for. And that's encouraging if you're Kansas. It's been a anytime that you don't even have your own home stadium, it's hard to say that this is a team that's going to hit their win over. We thought they'd go bowling, and that looks far-fetched at the moment, but it was good for Kansas.
BYU, this was the spot that they were going to lose. Everybody, all the sharp money was on Kansas. Lance Leipold's a really good coach. They were able to reset their offense. They were the unluckiest team. Tyson laid it out last week against BYU, who was the luckiest team. This was the time that BYU was going to lose. We knew it was going to happen. We couldn't take it because we have been burned by BYU so many times this season, and we are still burned by them because we took the over, and this thing might as well have been 1980s football. But BYU's dead. They're done. I don't think that. I think this is kind of the domino that's going to fall, Tyson. And I don't want to dance on their grave because I had to eat a little crow when they were winning, and so now I want to be like, I was waiting. But they play Arizona State next. We'll preview that. Then they finish with Houston, which they're a high variance team. Anything could happen in that game. So you got to keep an eye on that. And then if they get past them, whoever they play in the Big 12 championship game. So it's going to be tough for BYU, tough sledding for them.
Yeah, you're looking at two guys who took a BYU under ticket on, 2.5 wins, 3.5 wins?
5.5.
We still weren't even close. I mean, that's how long ago they passed it. I forgot what the number was. So shout out Kalani Sitake, and thank you for coming. We want somebody else in, please.
I like Sitake. He's a good coach. Slav, just good spirit. But yeah, this BYU team a little fugazi, and they got caught this weekend. But Tyson, let's get into some other coaching stuff in this segment here.
Biggest storylines.
So we went to the CFP already. That's what we've put here for the last couple of weeks, but we did our own episode. So go check that out again if you're curious about our thoughts and everything. But we thought we'd go through the coaching carousel because there was carnage after this past weekend. Actually pretty surprising when you look at some of the teams who made these decisions. What we didn't discuss, Tyson did it in a little bit, kind of mentioned it, but Mike Norvell fired the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and wide receivers coach. That happened 9 days ago. We were kind of rolled our eyes a little bit. Like I said, Matt Rhule moved on from the OC, named Dana Holgorsen the offensive coordinator. So that's pretty intriguing. Now, here's where the head coaches and the other firings have come in. Ball State gets rid of Mike No. He'd been the head coach since 2016. 2020 COVID year was really when he kind of took off, but full season hasn't been great. Temple fires Stan Drayton. There's real conversations now that Temple should just get rid of the football program. Which is kind of crazy to think about, but that's like picking up steam in the local area at Temple. So keep that in mind. Just a day ago, we had 3 other firings. Charlotte fires Biff Poggi. He was in year 2 with the program. Really interesting character, but 6-16 overall. Wasn't good enough there. Tom Herman continues to fall from grace as he gets fired by FAU. Pretty nuts. They were 2-8 this year in 2014. 6-16. The program has not been the same since Lane Kiffin was there. And then UMass fires Don Brown, the longtime defensive coordinator. He was at Michigan under Harbaugh. He was in Arizona in 2021. He was previously at UMass when they were in the FCS. So let's kind of go through this. What's your thoughts? You kind of see some things at the G5 level start shaking out.
Well, some of these are damned if you do, damned if you don't, because some of these programs are really hard to turn around. Anyways, outside of FAU, we've seen it done before, so we know it's possible. But is it really Biff's fault that he walks into Charlotte and is competitive in enough games to make you want to watch Charlotte, but they keep losing? It's some of these programs are for the poor athletic directors, and this is the only time I'll ever give any of them sympathy. But it's really tough in today's landscape in college football. You need a CEO and a head coach and all of those other things. If Temple shuts down the football program, I'll be heartbroken. But really, the number one thing here is Tom Herman, dude. This is a guy that was the hottest name on the market.
Oh, my God.
Was it 8 years ago now? Something like that. He spurns LSU and goes to Texas. He fought up Charlie Strong at Texas, I believe. And it was he's got the P charts in the locker room. He's really going to get this whole thing turned around. He's got Sam Ehlinger and all this stuff, and just nosedives, man. It's been brutal, and we don't like to celebrate anybody losing their jobs. But this was like an offensive guy, and they can't even score points.
It's crazy. I mean, I don't know what the deal is with that. Maybe it's just not a head coach. I mean, that we see it in the NFL all the time. Maybe that's the case here. I mean, he was a good offensive coordinator under Urban at Ohio State and just parlayed that into bigger jobs and just failed, man. I mean, went to Houston, OG, and then went to Texas, right? And he was supposed to lead that program, and he got fired, kind of bounced on his feet. FAU. Once again, I mean, so I think FAU is a harder job than when Kiffin was there because of UCF going to the Big 12.
Yeah.
Before, when it was a G5, you could just be like, oh, you come live down in Boca. It's sick down here. It's good weather. Good schedule. You're still in Florida. But UCF going to the Big 12, now you're trying to recruit those same kids. Those are once the guys who are G5 guys now going to play for a Power 4 school. That's tough for FAU, especially in that area with Miami and the other teams you're trying to compete with. UMass, Tyson, there's like real rumors or real momentum or at least real thought. Maybe I don't have any inside info that UMass will go back to the FCS level.
Bring them back. Bring them back. This is your home. This is where you belong. We will embrace you with open arms. The FCS looks like they may lose some members here as this shuffle takes shape. And everyone's talking North Dakota State, South Dakota State, all that stuff. But like Southeastern Missouri is moving up, and we need some of the OGs back, man. I mean, some of my better memories growing up. I remember going to a playoff game in Washington Grizzly Stadium that my alma mater lost to UMass. I mean, it's just there's some history here. It makes more sense to me. And the East Coast is severely lacking in FCS schools. They can't cut it at the FBS level.
Yeah, it's especially in the Northeast, man. It's just
so hard.
Not as much football, especially up in Boston. It's just not huge. Not the New England area. It's more pro sports. So I do think that makes sense. Temple, man, it's tough. Just Matt Rhule is like a once in a gen type of guy. I mean, how many coaches have these guys tried, and it's just only Matt Rhule is able to do it.
Yeah, that's a really interesting area as well because like the guys from Philly and Harrisburg and all of those surrounding areas, they grow up, they want to play for Penn State or they want to play for Michigan, Ohio State, or some of these Big Ten schools. And then Temple gets passed by, and you find your Hassan Reddicks every now and then, or you find your Hakeem Butlers, guys like that. But it's just impossible to compete at this level when that's really like you need one guy every 5 recruiting classes that's going to help.
And NIL is not large enough at Temple that you can keep some of these guys. It's a tough job, and you're playing in a conference too. Where there's like real committed teams to football, and Temple it's more of a basketball school. That's a tough job, and kind of round school. Yes, very very good point, Charlotte. I don't really know what they do. I mean, this Pogge thing is supposed to be. I don't know. I don't know where they go. And Tyson, similar to Ball State. I mean, the Ball State is kind of similar thing.
Tom Herman.
Just recycle them and just throw them up there. Yeah, two programs is questionable. Before we move on, though, and get out of this coaching carousel and start previewing some games, there's been no FBS firings yet. I'm sure there will be some coming. It's just G5 right now. I'm sorry, no Power 4 firings yet, just G5. But Wisconsin did fire offensive coordinator Phil Longo coming off the loss to Oregon, where this offense once again looked completely atrocious. Ranked outside the top 85 in points scored, only 23.6 per game. Total yards, 360.7 per game. They're 102nd in passing yards per game, Tyson. It's just big gross. Luke Fickell doesn't seem like this is a good fit on paper. A lot of people around the country were surprised he even hired Phil Longo. So what's your take on everything in Wisconsin right now?
I mean, it's about as predictable as it could get. There was like, and we talked about it, I think, but nobody else noticed that Phil Longo has had top 3 NFL draft pick after top 3 NFL draft pick, and those offenses felt like they were stagnant and not quite as good as they should have been with your Drignays, with your Mitchell Trubisky's, with your Sam Howells, and they run the football like crazy. Yeah, because Matt's getting 4- and 5-star running backs to come on down here and stay in their home state. They get Javonte Williams, and right now Omarion Hampton, and they had was it Carter? They had Michael Carter. They're at North Carolina for a while.
Chandler? No, that's Indiana. My bad.
He played for the Cardinals and the Jets and all of that stuff. I think it's Michael Carter. But regardless, sometimes some of these guys are in perfect situations for them, and then they want to go, let's see if the grass is greener over here. We were wondering where the Wisconsin running game went, and nobody thought to look and say, well, Phil Longo's had a really good run game for a long time. I wonder, why this didn't translate. It's because he didn't have the guys.
They downsized the offensive line too, in a shocking decision. I mean, it's a Wisconsin team that's known for power football and running,
Let's
and
get
they went
fast.
they went right because they want to run this offense. I mean, it's crazy. So Luke Fickell was the darling of the high, right? First G5 program that made it to the CFP. This was in the 4-team era. Do you think that there's a chance that he gets fired from Wisconsin after? I don't think he gets fired this offseason, but I think he's coaching for his job next year. Do you think that's accurate?
I think that could be fair. If that's true, then Wisconsin is going to peak inside the top 10 at some point, and it's going to be your Chris Kleiman special or whoever else that you want to throw, kind of on like the will they not? He's a good coach. It's just he also is the victim kind of his own success, because as Cincinnati was popping off, it was all the drama with Ohio State. And is Luke Fickell actually the man for the job? And would you take him over Ryan Day or whatever? And now it certainly feels like he's closer to a guy that was coaching at Cincinnati, and that's okay.
Yeah, that is certainly interesting. So there'll be more stuff. I mean, we'll definitely continue to do the coaching carousel because we got 2 regular season games left. I mean, teams are going to try to get a jump start. Some of the top coordinators in the country, they're going to go to the G5 level probably, especially now that there's a pathway, and we're seeing it this year, Boise State, Tulane, Army, to get into the CFP. So Tyson, we saw a bunch of people flee, the coordinators flee and go, or head coaches go up. I think there's a chance we see people go down. It'll be interesting too with the House ruling, kind of what happens there. A lot of insiders are saying, programs and athletic directors around the country, they're a little gun shy to start bagging boosters for payouts and buyouts because there's going to be potentially just a completely new structure coming financially. So it's the whole thing in college sports is about to shake up, and I think we'll see and we'll kind of know depending on how many coaches are getting fired.
This is a real, oh no, the consequences of my own actions situation taking place for a lot of these presidents.
All right, let's start looking ahead to next week. Let's start previewing some games.
Playbook preview.
And let's start with the banger. Indiana facing Ohio State. The number 5 ranked Hoosiers traveling on the road to face the number 2 ranked Buckeyes. Game day will be there. Probably big noon kickoff. I haven't checked that, but I know game day will be there. Oh, I do know big noon will be there because it's a big noon kickoff. Ohio State's got 17 in a row, and Ohio State fans have the gall to complain about that when you just got an advantage against Penn State. You got an advantage against yada, yada, yada. Like, let's slow down a little bit. Ohio State, you guys get the advantage every single time. Don't get me started on that. But what do you expect here? There's huge implications regarding the CFP future for Indiana. Ohio State, if they lose this game, they're out of the Big Ten picture. Could that potentially push them out? We don't think so of the CFP, but where's your mind at on this?
Physical. Let's go hop in the time machine here. Let's play a little ball. Let's play Kirk Cignetti football, because I think that's the way Ohio State wants to play too. I know the names are flashy, and Jeremiah Smith is awesome, and Emeka Egbuka. There's a huge discourse right now. Is he an X? Is he a Z? What's he going to play at the next level? Well, in college, he's a stud, and we can just call him that. But they want to pound the football. They want to run the ball down your throat and establish everything and play their defense. And that's the way that I think Indiana wants to get this thing cracking too. And sometimes, you just don't have the athletes in games like this, and we'll find out if that's true with Indiana. But I will take everything out of my bank accounts. I will, take a loan out on anything that I have. And I will put it all on Kirk Cignetti having a major coaching advantage here against Ryan Day. And I think that that's worth something. I don't know if it's worth, 10 points or whatever the final spread ends up at when it closes on Saturday. But I don't think that Indiana they're more live in my mind than I think that I think the rest of the country is going to look at this and go, well, it was a fun story, but they're going to lose by 30.
It'll be interesting. Indiana's offense is 7th in EPA per rush, 2nd in EPA per dropback. Ohio State's defense 4th and 2nd in those categories. So, strength on strength. This is a really good Indiana offense. They've been converting on third down at one of the highest clips in the country, 7th at a 50.4% rate. It's just been an excellent third and fourth down success rate. Ohio State's been good at getting off the field, 31.6%. So that's something to keep in mind. But on the defensive side, right, like, oh, Ohio State, they're just going to overmatch Indiana. Well, let's look at it here. Advanced metrics. Ohio State's offense, 8th in EPA per rush, 6th in EPA per drop back. Indiana, 11th in stopping the run, 18th in stopping the pass. They do not give up explosive plays to the Hoosiers. They're 3rd in tackle percentage, and that could bode well against Ohio State's 21st. So, this has the makings for a slugfest. Back and forth, who's going to get the stop, who's going to make the play. In the past, it's been Ohio State, but it's a new era in Bloomington. Maybe they take the bull by the horns and they pull off a major, major upset.
Yeah, and last thing for me on this game, to me, it feels like everybody in the Big Ten plays Ohio State the same way. Penn State's played them the same way. They played the same game for 10 years. Michigan plays them the same way every single year. I think Indiana's going to bring a little bit something a little bit fresh here to the table. Not to say they're going to win the football game, but Ohio State thrives in the environment where they already seem to know the outcome, and that won't be the case on Saturday.
Let's move into Army against Notre Dame, number 19th ranked Army facing number 6th ranked Notre Dame. Tyson, this will be on a neutral field. This will be at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx in New York City. This should be an extremely interesting game, man, because Notre Dame just completely destroyed Navy. I'm wondering if the public sentiment is the same thing. We both have been watching the teams this year. Navy was a little bit overvalued. Maybe was playing a little bit above expectation. We think Army is the better program. They'll be able to prove that when they face each other. But in this matchup, I do think Army has a better chance of beating Notre Dame than Navy did.
Yeah, and Army is kind of closer to who people thought Navy was. I mean, this is a team that averaged 330 yards running a game, which is just absolutely ridiculous. So that's ball control football. That's controlling the clock. That's all the things that Navy was supposed to do. On the defensive side of the ball, they are leagues better than that Navy team as far as stopping the inside run. And that was where, Notre Dame made their, hey, let's just get some duo stuff. Let's get some inside zone stuff. And we're just going to run wild on these guys. Will they be able to do it against Army? Maybe. Army's, obviously going to be smaller than Notre Dame and potentially just get out physical. But they are more than live to cover the spread here. I think they're live in the football game, Brad.
Yeah, looking at Army's offense, 11th in EPA per rush, 4th in EPA per dropback. Notre Dame's defense is really good, 10th in EPA per rush, 3rd in EPA per dropback. So it's strength on strength, flipping around. Notre Dame's offense, they're really good at running the football. That was evident in that Navy game. So like Tyson said, keep an eye on that. 6th in EPA per rush, 40th in EPA per dropback, but Army defensively 23rd in EPA per rush, 39th in EPA per dropback. So that's the key. If they can stop the run for Notre Dame and turn Riley Leonard into a pass-first guy, Army's got enough guys on the back end, actually. Like, they do a good job. Their coach is awesome. This should be an interesting game, especially up in New York where, Notre Dame against Navy, I thought they had the advantage on the neutral, because that was supposed to be Annapolis, or it could have been at least a Navy home game. This could have been a Notre Dame home game, and instead they're going to New York. It's a quick trip from West Point down to New York City. Meanwhile, Notre Dame's got to travel from South Bend. So I don't know, maybe trending in the right direction for Army.
Yeah, they just have to make sure to get Aaron Judge off the field and make sure that, none of that bad juju is left there in Yankee Stadium. This is so stupid, having this football game there. I mean, there's history of college football in New York, and there's history of playing football in some of these stadiums. You're going to get one of these poor kids hurt. I mean, we got to at least cover up the dirt, brother.
All right, let's close out here. BYU, Arizona State. BYU still 14th after their loss against Kansas. Still in the CFP picture. Arizona State knocking on that door. They are now 21st in the country. This is huge, huge ramifications when it comes to the Big 12 championship game. Winner of this goes. Loser of this is eliminated. I think. I'm not quite sure how the tiebreakers work, but 2 losses here for either team, that would basically be debilitating. Hard to think that Arizona State is not going to have the advantage. They've been really solid on both ends of the football. I'll take a dive into that. But if I'm just looking, just BYU, what we've seen from them against this Arizona State team, it's hard for me not to give the advantage to the Sun Devils.
Yeah, and how did Kansas just beat BYU? I mean, it's like the playbook is out. The playbook has been out. I think that we've seen a couple teams try to run this. Kansas has Devin Neal, and that helps things a bunch. Cam Scatterbo is a really good player. He's going to go. Everything that we're hearing, he should be full go, which is good because this is a guy who's going to get the ball probably 25 times. He is the engine that makes Arizona State run. I think Jordan Tyson's kind of an underrated player, to be honest with you. He's kind of slipped through the cracks maybe a little bit as far as anytime you're going to put up 1,000 yards receiving in college football, that's impressive. I don't care who you are. I think that this is a good team for Arizona State. I do think that there's a little bit of bounce back potential here for BYU because this is rally them up. Nobody believes in us. Our destiny's still in our hands. Just because we lost the game doesn't mean we're out of this thing. And look, for as much crap as we've given BYU over the year, and they weren't real and they were ranked at 6, and look, we were right. Woohoo! That doesn't mean that the Big 12 is off the table. This is a team that can still very much beat Arizona State and can still very much beat Colorado if that's the matchup that they get in the Big 12 championship game. I think Satake's going to have those guys ready to play. And this one, at being at 1:30, I think is perfect. This is a park yourself in front of the TV. You're going to get out of that Ohio State-Indiana game. You're going to get right into this one. Drinks will be flowing. Vitriol will be spilled all over the internet.
20th in EPA per rush for BYU's offense, 38th in EPA per dropback. Now, Retzlaff, is he kind of regressing? There's been some guys, some film guys, some advanced stats are like, he's avoiding the big mistake. Is that going to come? Is a regression going to hit? He's been able to avoid that so far. Kansas, not necessarily the big regression, but missed some throws, and the offense didn't quite look as good. So keep that in mind. 20th and 38th in rush and EPA per dropback. Arizona State's defense, 19th and 23rd in those. It's going to be a tough matchup. Yeah, it is. On the flip side here, BYU's defense has been good. Satake, kind of known for that. 17th in stopping the run, 11th in stopping the pass. They're going to need that here because Arizona State's offense, 15th in EPA per rush, 24th in EPA per dropback. So, Tyson, I'm with you here. I think there is big bounce back potential because I'm looking at this. Explosive plays have been something that BYU's taken advantage of. They're 8th in ECHL. Arizona State, 66 in the country in ECHL rate percentage. So if BYU can hit the explosives, that's a huge help. On the flip side, Arizona State's been able to hit that for their own offense, 26 in the country in that metric. But BYU actually been able to hold on to it a little bit, 40th, and prevent it, I should say, because they are 40th. So this is interesting, man. I mean, we're all looking like, oh, this is where the wheels fall off. But what just happens if you just kind of replace a lug nut and they're ready to go again?
Sounds like we're taking the over.
Probably, right? You got to pound the table and see if we're right on it again. Boy, oh boy. All right, well, that's going to do it for our show. Tyson, I can't believe it, man. Freaking, I'm getting ready for college basketball. I don't want to say I'm ready to turn the page on college football because that's never the case, but it's on every single day of the week, it feels like.
Well, and betting-wise, Brad is ready to turn the page to college basketball because the boys been cooking a little bit there. That is in our Discord app. We got college basketball, college football, the NFL, the NBA, whatever you can think of. There's a channel in there for you. The link is in the description here. Just go ahead and click that. Group name, as I said what I said. We'll let you write it, and it's free. Just a hilarious live loss last night in the primetime football game or Brad's live juju. Still seems to be negative. So if you want infinite money, just hop in there and fade the live plays.
Exactly. That's the way to do it at this point, folks. But yeah, we did hit one the other day. It was a pre-flop. So hopefully we can keep that going. Nice little banger there in our long shot tab. On the show side, like, subscribe, and share. If you're watching on YouTube, smash that like button on the way out. Smash it if you haven't already. Subscribe so you don't miss a single thing. We just did a little surprise, little bonus episode of our CFP reactions. We may be doing that more, just more content as we get closer and closer to championship weekends and things like that in the sport. And then NFL, of course, we'll have you covered throughout the entirety of the season. Share it with a friend, share it with any, share it with somebody you're lukewarm with. It doesn't matter to us. We appreciate the support that you guys have. And like I said, man, we're continuing to chug and plug along. We'll have an NFL episode coming out later. We'll speak to you guys then. Peace.